Good evening, what's poppin', everybody? Welcome back to Uncle Mo TV. You already know who it is. Listen, I was chilling, left the gym, came home, grabbed something to eat, was about to get in the shower, and I got a text message from one of my homeboys, and he sent me a clip to this video, right? And told me what do I think about it and if I'm going live. So I jumped in the shower real quick, and now I'm in front of y'all. Umar Johnson did a video that dropped a couple of hours ago. I think at the time that I seen it was about 15 hours ago. And as always, Oompa Loompa is lying through his teeth. Lady Luck, Information Manor, Jay Witt, I don't know if y'all seen this yet, but I'm about to give my live reaction and debunk a lot of these lies because boy, I just don't understand how he lies so well and they roll so smooth off his tongue at this time that everything that's been debunked about him, he's still out here fronting. But without further ado, let's get to it.
But you know, we saw this kind of rumored around, and we wanted to get your thoughts on it. So critics say, obviously, you raised millions for your school, and after some time,
And the name of the video is "This Is Not a Scam," and he's going to explain the delays, more BS that we've been hearing.
decade or so, the school hasn't been up. So they want to know what's the 2026 update on FDMG Academy.
First of all, anything a critic says about FDMG, I would like to know where they get their information from. Nobody knows how much money we raised because we never shared it.
Stop. We're giving away $1,000 and a free iPhone 17 Pro. All you gotta do.
That nobody in the public could know anything unless we share it with them. The only people we share information with are our donors. The big problem with the so-called FDMG controversy is the people asking the questions are not the donors. The donors don't ask questions. We have their complete faith, complete support. 85% of our donors are repeat donors, which means.
You see the lies? That's why it's a class action lawsuit right now. And this is what I say about these young interviewers that's just trying to get the clicks and shit. They need to start doing some pushbacks and doing some research on people before they have them up there. Because right there, he would have knew it wasn't even that long ago, right? For what, Christmas? Less than a month ago, it came out about the class action lawsuit. And that's all donors who donated to him. So for him to say that is a bold-faced lie, as we already know.
They've been supporting us since the fundraiser began. The people who want answers are people who have no vested interest at all in the project. So I don't answer questions to people who don't have any vested interest in the project. You follow what I'm saying? I don't go around offering answers to people who don't have anything to do with what I'm working on, because this is a private Black community initiative. We don't owe them no answers. We don't take any federal money. You see what I'm saying? So, you know, that's the problem, because they want us to be accountable to YouTube. They want us to be accountable to Instagram. They want us to be accountable to the struggle streams. I'm not accountable to nobody but our donors. So when donors have a question, they can call me and ask. And I know if they're a donor or not because we've recorded every donation we've ever gotten. Every one. You follow? So if you call say, Doc, I wanted to ask you a question about the school.
Yo, first off, who the fuck is this we? Right? Let's start there. Who's this we, right? And then you went on these platforms to solicit donors, as you call them. Donors, you went on there begging for donations. We watched this play out in front of our eyes. And then another thing is, you own a 501c nonprofit. You have to be transparent.
Hey again, whenever you're ready, just let me know. I'm always here to help.
Okay, I got a question for you.
Of course.
If I had a nonprofit to open up a school, do I have an obligation to be transparent with the public?
In general, yes. If you're running a nonprofit, especially one that's involved in something like opening a school, there's definitely an expectation of transparency. Nonprofits in the US are usually required to follow certain rules about public disclosure. That means sharing information like your financial statements, how you're using funds, your mission, and your impact. So, being transparent not only helps you meet legal obligations, but it also builds trust with the community and your donors. It's definitely a good practice all around.
So I have a question. So when the controversy happened with Dr. Umar Johnson, with his buildings being like set for auction, can you give us like a briefing on that?
Sure. In a nutshell, Dr. Umar Johnson's school, the Frederick Douglass Marcus Garvey Academy in Wilmington, Delaware, was at risk of being auctioned off because of about $38,000 in unpaid fees and bills. This all came to light around mid-2025, and he reached out to supporters for donations and even called for protests against what he said was unfair treatment by the city. As of late that year, it's not entirely clear if the auction actually happened or if the situation got resolved, so it's still a bit uncertain.
Thank you. Yeah, he somehow either paid it off or got a payment plan. So my next question for you is, with an organization like that school that he's trying to put together, do he need to be transparent with the public?
Yeah, absolutely. In a case like that, where it's a nonprofit school project and he's relying on public donations, transparency is really key. It helps build trust with supporters and shows that the funds are being used for the intended purpose. Plus, for any nonprofit, being transparent about finances and operations is often part of the legal or ethical requirements. So, yeah, transparency is definitely important in that kind of situation.
Okay, thank you. I'm gonna get back to reacting to his latest interview. I'll be back with more questions to fact check. Thank you.
You're welcome. That sounds like a plan. Just let me know whenever you need more fact checking or anything else. Enjoy your reacting, and I'll be here when you come back.
Sure. What's your name? When was your last donation? How did you make that donation? Let me confirm you. And you can ask all the questions you want. But if you're just a struggle streamer, you're just looking for content so you can just run with some negativity, I'm not giving you no answers. With that being said, let me clarify a couple things about FDMG. The fundraiser began on April the 12th of 2014 in St. Louis. Originally, we wanted to purchase the HBCU St. Paul's College in Lawrenceville, Southern Virginia. HBCU for sale, they wanted $2 million. A buddy of mine called me up and said, Doc, there's an HBCU for sale for $2 million. Of course, we hadn't even started raising money yet. So the fundraiser began. We lost. The Chinese purchased it. And I'm embarrassed that black people let another race purchase an HBCU built by our ancestors coming out of slavery. The Chinese have the St. Paul's. So we said, okay, we can't get St. Paul's. Let's keep on raising this money and let's try to just get a regular day school. So we started traveling all over the world. As I told you.
Well, look, he said that the Chinese bought it. It was a business group that bought it for $2.5 million. But the most important thing is, how would you put in an offer for $2 million when you had no money to begin with, bro? You was window shopping at that point. But how could you expect, I'm gonna ask for donations? You have no funding, no revenue, and thought you was just gonna go buy a 500-acre campus off of fucking ambitions, and no ambitions, because if you had ambitions, you would have had money, but you just bought it off of hope. Like, come on, man. Let's be for real.
Earlier, we almost ended up in Atlanta. The big issue with the early school search is once these property owners found out who I was, and let me be clear, most of the properties that we were interested in during our school search from 2014 to 2019 was Roman Catholic schools because they take good care of their property. I thought we were going to end up in Detroit also. Detroit had about 5 Catholic schools that we had enough money to buy, and once they found out who I was, they wouldn't sell. There was another Catholic school at Money Earned in Mount Vernon, New York. They wanted to lease it clean. I said, we ready to lease. They called the Vatican in Rome. He told me this. He said, half the Catholic schools in America are managed directly from Rome. I did not know that. So he had to call the Vatican and ask them if it was okay to lease the school to Dr. Umar. They said no. So a big part of the delay.
All right, so look, right? Let's debunk that part of that, right? So I happen to be from the Bronx, New York, from the Morris Senior section. Being with that said, at the top of the Bronx, once you get past 241st, you are in Mount Vernon. I have a lot of family, so I grew up in Mount Vernon. I went to private school. I went to Catholic school, to be exact, from pre-K to 10th grade. Boy is lying. It's the Archdiocese, not in the Vatican. I've been in the Vatican too. I got pictures. I might insert them in here. But he's lying. It is ran by the Archdiocese, and it is ran at the local level. And when anybody know when you're buying property, anybody who have bought property before, you don't negotiate directly. You negotiate with your realtors. And he bought this under a LLC, right? So they would not know they're selling it to him. They'll be selling it to the entity of the LLC. But let's fact check him, even though I know the answers. I'm back.
Welcome back. Hope the reaction went well. Let me know what you've got for me this time.
Okay, so we in the middle of it, and this is what we going now, right?
Got it.
Umar Johnson is stating that most of the Catholic schools, well, half of the Catholic schools in America is ran by the Vatican. I need you to tell me if that's true and who actually runs the Catholic school system in America.
Absolutely. Let's clear that up. So it's not really true that half of the Catholic schools in America are run directly by the Vatican. In fact, the Vatican doesn't directly manage Catholic schools in the United States. Instead, they're generally managed by local dioceses and archdioceses. So each diocese or archdiocese, basically a regional branch of the church, oversees the schools in its area. So to sum it up, Catholic schools in the U.S. are locally managed, not Vatican run. The Vatican sets broad guidelines, but it's the local diocesan leadership that actually runs the show.
And who runs the show in Mount Vernon, New York?
In Mount Vernon, New York, the Catholic schools are overseen by the Archdiocese of New York. So it's really the local archdiocesan leadership under the Archbishop of New York that manages the Catholic schools in that area. Each school still has its own principal and local administrators, but they all follow the guidelines and oversight from the Archdiocese of New York.
And another question, how many Catholic schools are in Mount Vernon?
Right now, there are 2 Catholic high schools directly in Mount Vernon, New York. Besides those, there are also a few nearby Catholic schools in neighboring areas like the Bronx and Tuckahoe that also serve students from around the region.
Okay, I used to go to Mount St. Michael Academy in the Bronx, and I know they're ran by the local archdiocese. Do they ever lease out schools to other people besides like a Catholic school?
Yeah, that can happen sometimes. If a Catholic school building is no longer being used, or if there's extra space, the local diocese or archdiocese might lease it out to other educational organizations or community groups. It doesn't have to be another Catholic school. Sometimes you'll see charter schools, private schools, or even community centers leasing former Catholic school buildings. It's all about making good use of the space and supporting the local community.
And who would they have to get permission from in order to do that?
They typically need to get permission from the archdiocese or the diocese that owns the property. Basically, the archdiocesan leadership, which might include the archbishop and the administrative offices that handle property and finance, would be the ones to approve any leases or agreements to let another organization use the school building. So it's all handled through the local Catholic Church's administrative structure.
Hey, thank you. I'll be back to debunk more.
You're welcome. Sounds like a plan. Just let me know whenever you're ready to dive into more debunking.
was we couldn't get nobody who would sell us the property that we wanted, right? So we ended up in Wilmington, Delaware. We bought the school in 2019, only 5 years. All black money, no white financiers, no white bank. Purchasing a school in 5 years from the people's money from the community, I see no problem with that. So we get the school in February 7th of 2019, and we've been renovating it since. February 7th of 2026 will be 7 years. This past Saturday, we completed all the renovations on the school. Why were we delayed so much? And I'm not even gonna call it delay, because I believe in divine timing. If it didn't happen yet, it wasn't supposed to. You feel me? That's my position. But if we wanna look at this practically, the reason it took us 7 years to do the renovations is because the black contractors, I'm gonna say it, the black contractors who we depended on to help us cross this finish line sooner, they scammed us, they robbed us, they never completed their work. I haven't had a single black contractor.
I'm begging you, stop using Canva and ChatGPT like a children's toy. AI will create.
Quote me on this, in 7 years, I haven't had a black plumber, black electrician, black roofer, black HVAC, black painter, black floor person, not one black contractor who we paid to do the work ever finished what they got paid to do. Not one. So can't nobody say shit to me about how long it took us to get this job done. It took us long because of ninjas in the community who don't have integrity and work ethic.
You know how disrespectful that gotta be coming from somebody that had their license suspended numerous times for not paying child support, to talk about integrity? Do you know how disrespectful that gotta be for somebody who sit here, just look at his appearance, right? He got his flyest dashiki, but just look at the silhouette of his body, bro. Like, do you know how that got to be for him to try to down the black community when this man done been evicted from homes, been back and forth in and out of the court for slandering people, for doxing women, for not paying his child, for a daughter just is going on. Like 2025 was not a good year for him, but he got the nerve to lie. So he's making excuses on why he took the black money, the donations that he solicited from the black community, and as he said, handed it over to the white man. The same person who he likes to talk down to all the time. Because if he'd have went to legitimate contractors that he know ain't gonna let him run that game, because he wanted everybody to donate the stuff, do the work for free. If he'd have went to legit contractors, that mean they got insurance, they got stuff to be. And if they scanned about his money, he could have just went to the Better Business Bureau. He could have filed a civil lawsuit. It was means to guard him from that, but people's not gonna put their minutes on the line for that contaminated property. Like he's lying clearly.
Now, do you believe you need any more help?
Well, as I said, we finished. The renovations are done. We got to dot a couple I's and cross a couple T's, and then we have to go for inspection with the city of Wilmington, Delaware. We don't know what's going to happen with that because they never thought we would finish. Now that we're done, we now got to fight them. Because remember, they tried to sell the school behind our backs this past summer. We had a vacant property registration fee bill that we should not have even owed because as a nonprofit, you're supposed to get a 4-year waiver. They didn't give it to us, right? I called them up to see if we can come to some type of an agreement. If you're not going to give it to us, say that and let us pay. I'm
gonna give Umar his credit, but he's using half truth. He's using the truth to lie. So on here, let's go to the nonprofit, right? A 4-year waiver of registration fees may be requested if the owner meets the criteria for a nonprofit organization as defined by Section 501, pretty much the tax code on IRS, right? As you can see on their website, they have it highlighted. 2 things important. Documents that establish the conditions of your waiver must be included in your waiver request letter. Now, allegedly, when one of them YouTubers hit him up, and that's why I think he's trying to put down the guy who responded to him, in that email, he said that Umar never officially submitted a waiver. He submitted a picture of his 501c to show that he has a nonprofit status, but he never filled out the whole waiver paperwork, right? But it says that must be part of it. Then it said all properties must be registered to receive a waiver. Past due vacant fees cannot receive a waiver. Umar's admitting he did not speak to these people till October of 2024. He also admit and is showing that he bought that property in 2019. And if you could buy a property, if you do it wrong, with liens already on it, and from what was said in the beginning way back, these liens for the water is from 2016 before he bought the property. But by him not buying it, obviously, or having the wrong people as his counsel, he bought the property with outstanding bills already on it. You dig? And he's telling us BS, but he's mixing the truth. He's using the truth to disguise his lies. But as you can see on their thing, you cannot waive past due fees. Now, remember his other lie he said was the prices of it. You know, on my last video, I went to the actual city statute and you seen it one line and it was in.
The woman in the office told me she would call me back on 3 different occasions. Never called me back. I emailed on 3 or 4 other occasions. Never responded to my email. All of a sudden I get
Show us the emails. Show the emails. Tell us that because you changing your story. That's not the same story you said before when you spoke to David, you know. When you spoke to him and you did your interview on Word Radio, you didn't say that story. You did say that you spoke to somebody in March. And then why didn't you go down? Wilmington is not the biggest city. Even if it was, why didn't you go down there and talk to them? You making up excuses. They asked you then, was you ready for inspection? I just was at the school 3 weeks ago, and that shit looked like Stranger Things. It was bags of trash. I went there in September. The same bag of trash was in the same spot when I went back in December. You said on your taxes, because you said that you don't have to tell nobody, but like you said, it has to be transparency. On your taxes, you said you work 60 hours a week. I ain't bumping to you once when I went out there.
the phone called Dr. Umar, the struggle streamers on YouTube, talking about your school is about to be auctioned in 21 days. I said, this can't be true. I just checked the mail. We ain't got no mail saying they trying to sell our school. All our bills is paid up except that vacant property registration fee.
Remember, he was on Barber. He said he owed the $30,000 for the water bill. You know what I mean? Then how all your bills paid up, you owe the $30,000. Then another thing, the vacant property joint is if you never filed for it, he tried to get it retroactive. Remember, he was saying that he wanted it retroactive. I throw a clip in of that, but he sit here with a bold-faced lie. That's why he got to close his eyes to think while he tell his bullshit.
So I called one of my supporters in Wilmington. I said, can you go past the school and see if there's another set of paperwork on the other door? Because remember, we own both schools, by the way, not one, two. We own 4 buildings. We own the block. Name somebody else in the Black conscious community who bought a whole block. Nobody. I'm the only one. So anyway, the struggle streamer stole one set of paperwork. My supporter got the other set of paperwork. She took a picture of it and sends it to me, right? Guess what? If they would have took both sets of paperwork, if the haters would have took both sets of paperwork, I would have never knew that our property was going up for sale because the city of Wilmington did not communicate that to us. They would have sold that school behind our backs and we would have never even known. So when I tell you getting ready for this inspection, we might have to get ready for war. We might have to get ready for war.
I hope that completes itself how it should, for sure.
It should. Either way, it don't matter.
Yeah.
My ancestor Frederick Douglass told us more than 100 years ago, no struggle, no progress. If they want a war, we give them one. If I got to bring 3 million black people to Wilmington, Delaware and march on the city, that's exactly.
You don't got 300 black people, bro. The St. Paul sold for 2.5 million. You had 300 black people that is willing, 3 million black people that's willing to come up to Wilmington just to march because you ain't pay your bill. They could have all gave you $1 a piece and they could have bought the school. But then let's say after they gave you that, how are you gonna pay for everything else? Like, how are you gonna pay the staff? How are you gonna pay for insurance? You need insurance because you're gonna have people, children. And is this place gonna be accredited? Let's talk about that. Is this shit gonna be a glorified babysitter? Like, is it gonna be accredited? Because this is America.
what we do. If I got to take them to court and sue them for $5-10 million for constantly discriminating against us, that's what we'll do. Whatever.
You don't go to court for your own kids, so you ain't going to court to sue for them contaminated, abandoned buildings. We don't believe you.
It takes. I'm built for it. I hope they are.
Prize piece.
Take this on scene. That's the end of the video for that right there. But yeah, y'all see him out here still steady capping, still telling that BS is. I done been to the school. I've been in the school recently. I don't see, like, I haven't been on the inside, but I don't see how that, especially for a school, he got store gates on the windows. He got all types of shit that do not look like it's supposed to be. Jail got more light and stuff going in there. And every time he did a video, it ain't no ceiling in there. So y'all could be the judge. Shout out to my boy Bruce for sending me this. Appreciate you, fella. I told you I was gonna get this out here. It's late night. It's like 1 a.m. where I'm at. I'm about to edit this thing up and drop it for the members. It'll be to everybody else in the morning. Appreciate all of y'all. Consider joining, being a channel member. Hit that like button. Drop it down in the comment section. Let me know how you feel about this, right? My last video, go run that up, where it asked the question, is he Frederick Douglass family? The answer is no. I knew that when I made the video. It took me months to put it out there, but the Honorable Terrence Bailey is in there. He's the pinned comment. I'm about to respond back to him, but he even put it out. They don't even know this dude, bro. They never invited him, not even as a friend, to come to the reunion. He just be making stuff up as he go and sneaking around with nobody around and take pictures at grave sites and stuff. That's weird. But like I said, thank you for tuning in. Another episode of Straight from Morris Sr. And until next time, peace.